started Perek Sheni with Rabbi Harold. Remember Rabbi Spurka? So this was the Gemara we learned, but we learned Be'iyun. So we didn't do a lot of blot, but this we only started Perek Sheni.
Didn't he end up in Detroit?
He was from Detroit.
He was from Detroit. That's from Detroit.
From Detroit. They went back to Detroit. He's in Lakewood now.
Uh-huh.
He was an unbelievable Talmid Chacham, Rabbi Spurka. Aish Mekadesh Bo V'Shlucha. A man can be Mekadesh a woman himself and with a Shaliach. He can give the Kiddushin to a Shaliach, and the Shaliach goes and says, be Mekadesh to Chaim Yankel with this money. Similarly, Aisha Mishkadeshes Ba Uvishlucha. A woman could accept Kesef Kiddushin herself. She could send a Shaliach to accept the Kesef Kiddushin. Then Aish Mekadesh Espito Kshinara. A man can be Mekadesh his daughter who's a Nara between 12 and 12 and a half. We'll see Minatori can also do it when she's a Ketana, but the Chachamim don't want him to do it when she's a Ketana. So Kol Shekain he can do a Ketana if he's Mekabel Kiddushin. Normally, Ketanas L'chatchila, they're going to be warned not to do. So that's why the Mishnah talked about a Nara, because that L'chatchila he'd be allowed to do it. And he could do it, he could accept it himself, or a Shaliach he could appoint a Shaliach to accept Kesef Kiddushin for his Nara. So the Gemara asks, Hashta b'shlucha. What was that?
Sorry.
Hashta b'shlucha mekadesh bo boy. Well, again, the Gemara is nitpicking like it normally does, word for word. You shouldn't have to say bo, because if a person can be mekadesh with a shaliach, well, certainly he can be mekadesh himself. Why did you have to say bo? So there's a reason. Amar Rav Yosef, mitzvah bo yoser mi b'shlucha. Very important principle in halacha. It's a bigger mitzvah for him to do it rather than do it with a shaliach. It works. Ki had Rav Yosef machrich reisha.
In other words, a shaliach is just a b'diavad. It's not a lechatchila.
No, but it's a mitzvah. It's the right thing to do it yourself.
No, the hiddur is but that it seems to be similar to a lechatchila. You should be doing it bo atzmo. It's atzmo.
Right. Yeah, but I wouldn't say b'diavad. They want you to do it yourself.
Yeah, but if you can't, obviously the obvious case is if you can't do it.
Yeah.
So they gave you the right to use a shaliach.
The Rambam says, mitzvah shekidesh sheyikadesh adam esishto ba'atzmo yoiser me'asher yadei shaliach. Va'afilu kishemakira. Even if he knows her, it's not like he never met her before. We're going to see in a minute that whole issue. So you get a better mitzvah. I mean,
I don't know how shaliach can be makadesh someone. Can I do it with kesef? Can take the money from the guy and give it to her, but he can't. And he can't consummate the marriage.
No, just kesef and star.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying. So it seems like there's an ingredient missing when that happens. In other words, I understand that we can do with each one of those things.
And the Kiddushin is as good as no matter what. It's
I understand. That's why it seems to be a special thing for somebody who can actually do it. But otherwise, a man has to be Makadish's wife.
Yeah, the bigger mitzvah to do. And let's see the rayas that the Gemara brings. Ki hadarav safra machrich reisha. Erev Shabbos, you had to clean your animals. So he would do it himself. He had servants. But for Kavod Shabbos, he would rather do that by himself. Rava Malach Shibuta. There was a famous fish called the Shibuta fish. The brain of a Shibuta fish tasted like pork. We have a Gemara that says a person wants to taste the taste of pork, eat the brain of a Shibuta fish. Those of us who were at the Halachic Suda at Prime Grill, in Beverly Hills 20 years ago, I went with Yaakov, they had the Shibuta fish there. But they only gave it to the big donors. Not everybody got to eat from that. Anyways, these two guys, remember Ari, they're two famous archaeologists like Indiana Jones, Ari Zivotofsky and his buddy. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's two
They have
guys.
it?
They went into Syria.
Oh, they smuggled one
They
out?
smuggled one out from Syria. That's so the story went at that time. Okay. So Rava used to salt the shibuta fish on Erev Shabbos to be Makayim the mitzvah to be Mechin Sorchei Shabbos himself, even though somebody else could do it. There's a special hidur in doing it yourself. Now, the second version is different. Ikedi Amri, Baha Isuranami Isma. This issue, where you should do it more than the shalik, because there's an Isser that attaches. Because Karav Yudam Arav, Sham Rav Yudam Arav, Aser Lo Adam Shiyakadis Israisha Ad Shiyirena. It's an Isser to give Kiddushin to a woman that you never saw. Why? Shema Yiraba Davar Magudna. Later on, he's not going to like something about her. V'tignana alea, and he will hate her. V'rachmana omer v'haftu l'recha kamocha. So we don't want you to come to this. So you should do the Kiddushin yourself so you can see and check it out. And based on that, Ki Itma Rav Yosef, it's a Seifa Itma. When Rav Yosef said, Mitzvah bo Yosef mibishlucho, it's really going on the Seifa, where Aisha miskadeshes bo ubishlucho, that a woman could accept Kiddushin herself or send a shaliach. So hashta bishlucha mikatsha ba mabai. If she can send a shaliach, then there's certainly no question that she could do it herself. So Amr Yosef mitzvah here, mitzvah bo Yosef mibishlucha. It's a greater mitzvah if she does. And Kihash Ratzafra Machrech Reisha, Rava Malach Shibuta, like these Amiroim would prepare for Shabbos themselves. Aval Baha Isura Lespe. But by the woman, in the case of the Sefer, there is no Isur about being miskadish without seeing. Because Karish Lakish, Amrish Lakish, famous saying, Tav Lametav Tandu Milametav Armalu. A woman always wants to live with someone rather than by herself.
Then it should still say Ha'isha Miskadeshes. It doesn't have to say Bo.
Therefore, she's not that makpid. And even if the man isn't so perfect, she's happy with it.
That's why the Chachamim say that it's not like it's not a.
It's not an isser for her. For a man, it's an isser because a man is very finicky.
But by the way, the Rambam learns out from what we just learned about preparing the fish and malach and cleaning the animals, that on Erev Shabbos, it's a mitzvah of every single person, doesn't matter, every man, to help in the kitchen, even if the food is no good. You're supposed to do something to help your wife to prepare for Shabbos.
There you go.
The Rambam paskins like that. Special.
It says in Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam,
Right.
Misha yochel lakadis eshaisha ba'atzmo, osur lo lakadsha de shaliach, ela imkein makira. It means if you had never seen her before, it's an isser to send a shaliach. There you have to do it yourself. If you know her, then you can do it al shaliach. Okay. Aish mekadish es pito kishinara. So kishinara in, chiktana lo. From our Mishnah, it seems we don't want a father to accept Kesef Kiddushin for the Ketana. Misaila the Rab, Dam Rav Yidam Rav, Yitem Rabbi Lazar, Asr lo Adam shetzkadish es bito kshiktana. You have to wait until Tigdal, until she's a bas mitzvah, the Tomer Baploini, and he writes, I want to marry such and such person.
What you up to?
And that's the halacha. It's it's mutter midoraisa for a father to accept kesef kiddushin for his ketana. It's not the right thing to do. Chachamim made a mitzvah and made this halacha that he should not be makadosh,
Esti,
not accept kesef kiddushin for his ketana until she's an adult. Okay. Now, shlichus mino.
leave your keys for the car downstairs. I don't want to go with the wrong keys.
Where do we see the source for shlichus? So, the Tan. It says by Gittin, v'shilcha mi beso. First it says v'shilach. Melamed shehu oisa shaliach. From that pasuk, we learn that he can make a shaliach. Then it says v'shilcha. Melamed shehi oisa shaliach. It says twice, shilach v'shilcha. Someone's on the door here. 1 second, let me just get my kids in. I'm coming.
I just posted an article about the Shibuda fish on the chat.
It looks like a regular carp.
It's a family of carp, yeah.
Melamed shehu oisa shaliach v'shilcha. Melamed shehi oisa shaliach. That each one can use a shaliach to send the get or to receive the get. And why repeat it? V'shilach v'shilcha. Melamed shaliach oisa shaliach. By the way, when you empower shaliach to do something, he can then appoint another shaliach. The shaliach can appoint another shaliach. Fine. Ashkechan begerishin. That is by Gittin. B'Kiddushin mino. How do you know that it works by Kiddushin? Chitem and Elif megerishin. Maybe we'll learn it as a binyan av from Gittin. But malagerishin shekeshiyesh lebal korcha. There would be a reason why I would reject misvara this binyan av, because I can divorce a woman even against her will, but you can't be makadosh against her will. So it makes sense. I could use a shaliach. So here comes an important drasha, which we've had before. Amar kra, v'yatzami beito, v'halcha v'aysa li'ish acher. Once a woman receives a divorce, she leaves his house, v'haysa, and she becomes to a new man. Mekish havoya liyitzi. We compare havoya, which is the kinyan of a woman to a man, meaning kiddushin, liyitzia. Ma yitzia, mashvi shaliyah. We just proved from the psukim, from the drasha, that by get you can use a shaliach. Af havaya nami mashvi shaliyah. So by kiddushin, I can also use a shaliach. You're a farmer. You have 100 bushels of wheat. You have to give truma to the kohen. So there were 3 levels. Baininus was 1/50th. Ayin Raw is 1/60th. Ayin Yafa 1/40th. Now, the farmer says to a shaliach, go separate truma for me. Toirin kedas balabais. So, if the shaliach knows what the standard of the balabais is, 1/50th, 1/40th, 1/60th, so the shaliach should do it. Hi Ben. Yeah, Grandpa. I'm going to call you back because I'm teaching right now. Okay?
Bye.
I'll call you right back. Okay. Now, if Imeno Yodea Das Balabais, Torim, Bebenis, Echad Bechamishim. Now, if you don't know what his standard was, you give the middle, 150. Piches Asar Hoisif Asar, he gave more or less. Still, Truma so Truma. So the question is Minolan. Where do you see that the Balabayas has the power to appoint a Shaliach to separate the Truma? And it works. That is Truma. The Chitem Diolef Megerishin. Maybe I'll learn it from Mala Gerishin Shekain Yeshna Chol. It's not Hegdish. Truma has a shtickle Hegdish. It's in relative to Truma, it's Chol. And you can't learn it from that. There's no Kedusha by Gittin. Amar Kra, the Pasuk says, Kain Tarimu Gamatem. It could have just said, Kain Tarimu Atem. What is Gamatem? L'Rabos is a Shaliach. Drosha. To include a Shaliach. V'nicht of Rachmana B'Truma, V'nesechanich, V'nikruminei. Freak the Gemara now. Let the Torah teach me the din of shlichus by truma. I would have learned from there to Gerishin and to Kidushin. We could not. We shouldn't ikal mirchfrech sheken yeshna b'machshava. You know, truma. I can, if I'm on a boat, and I say, listen, I plan to separate 1/50th from the. You can separate truma b'machshava. You don't have to do a Maisa Afrosha. We've had many examples throughout Shas. I plan on doing this, and it already works. But Kiddushin and Gerishin don't work with Machshava. Another question. V'hadisnan Chabura Sha'avad Pisach. We know by the Korban Pesach, so you have a group of 10 people who got together to subscribe for one Korban Pesach. Avad Pischa, and the sheep got lost. V'amar le'echad, say ubikesh, go find another sheep. Ushchot aleinu, and shecht on our behalf. V'halach v'matzah v'shachat. The shaliach went, found, and shechted. V'hein, the other people who had remained behind, they were waiting for the guy, they saw he's not coming. So lokhu, they bought another sheep, they shechted it. So im shalom nishchash rishon, if his had been shechted first, hu archal mishalom, v'heim oichlin v'shoisimimo. So they had appointed him the shaliach, so he can eat from himself, from the sheep, and they also can eat it. So we see that a shaliach works by the Korban Pesach. Minolan, how do we know this? Maybe I'll learn from Gerishin and Truma. Listen, both Gerishin and Truma are not in the same level of Kedusha. You can't learn from them to Kochim. Nafkilei, Mirvi Yeshua ben Korcha, Shomer Yeshua ben Korcha. A general rule, Minayin sheshlucho shel adam kamoso. When you appoint a shaliach, it's like you. Shene'amar, it says by the Korban Pesach. V'shechatu oso, kol kahal adas Yisrael ben arba. V'chi kol kahal kulan shochtim. I understand. Is the whole congregation shechting? You usually have one person shechting for the chabura. Ela mikan sheshlucho shalom kamoso. A shaliach is like you. Okay. So then nichtov rachmana b'kotshim v'nei sechanech v'nigru minei. So let's learn Gerishin, Kiddushin, and Truma from Kotshim. The Gemara says mishum dekele mifrach mala Kotshim shekain rov ma'aseyem ayidei shaliach. You know, most activities in the Beis HaMikdash got done by the Kohanim, who in essence, the Avodas HaKotshim was done by a Shaliach. So therefore, you can't learn to other mitzvahs that a shaliach will work. Okay. Chada mechada lo asya. To learn from one of these to the others, we've seen you can't. But the Gemara says, Teisa chada metarti. Let us learn one from two. Hey, Teisa, which one? Lo nichtav rachmana b'kotchem v'teisa mehanech. Let the Torah not write the din of shlichus by kotchim. And we would learn from a combination of gerushin and truma. Maladach shekei yeshno chol etzel kotchim. You can't. Those are chol. The other one is kotchim. Lo nitiv chamana begerushin v'teisa mehanech. Let the Torah be silent by gerushin. And we're going to learn in a combination from truma and kotchim. Maladach sheken yeshno b'machshava. Gerushin doesn't work by machshava, but kotchim and truma works by machshava. Ella lo lichtav rachmana b'truma. The Torah could have been silent by truma. V'teisei mehanech. And I could have learned it from a combination of kotchim and gerushin. Because there's a shtickle kotchim by truma and kotchim. And by kotchim will work by machshava to truma. The Gemara says, hachanami. That's how we learn. If that's how we learn, why did I bring the drasha of gamatem? Atem gamatem lamali. So mabayle Rav Yanai. It's for a different limud. Rav Yanai. Gamatem ma atem b'nei bris av shluchachem b'nei bris. Just like you were Jews, your shlichim have to be Jews. And a non-Jew cannot serve as a shaliach to be mafresh truma. Afraid to Gemara lama likra. Rav Chia bar Avraham Rav Yochanan. We already learned this. Rav Chia bar Avraham Rav Yochanan ein eved nasa shliach lekabel get miad baila shalisha. An eved who is not a Jew cannot be the shaliach to makabel the get from her husband. So there's already a general rule that if the person's not in the parsha of this din, he can't be a shaliach for that din. So since goyim are not commanded to be mafresh truma, they can't be a shaliach. So I don't need a pasuk gamatem, where it says no, I need it. It's true. Uklal. There is no heter for an eved to give a divorce, to do anything. There's no shaykhs. So he can't be a shaliach. Aval nochri. Hoil v'isei betruma denafshe. If a non-Jewish farmer wants to give truma, he can. It's not hanochri v'akusi shetarmu from their own tfuah, trumas and truma, even though they're not mitzvah to do it. So maybe I would have thought ema shliach nami of it. Kamar shmalon gamatem that they cannot serve as shaliach to separate truma. They made a gzeira that a nachri who's mafresh truma, the truma is not a truma because he's not chayiv. Chacham made a gzeira. Midivrei chachim gazru shetei trumas or truma k'divrei chachamim, says the Rambam. Minat Torah it's not, but the chachamim made it as if it is. Ula Rab Shimon shepoiter. Rab Shimon says a nachri has nothing to do with truma. It's not. Trumas nachri medames. If a nachri separated truma and it fell into a pile of chulin, so a non-kohen can't eat it, and therefore chayavin aleh chomesh. A non-kohen has to pay an extra fifth because that's the punishment for eating truma. Rab Shimon poiter, because there's no kedusha at all by truma nachri. So then, what's the atem kamatem lamali? There's no chiddush. We said, Alt's the opinion that if a goy gives truma, so we need gamatem to say they can't be a shliach. But Reb Shimon has no shaykhs to them. Still, the Gemara says itzrich. I needed the postuk of gamatem. Atem v'lo arisa. You and not your sharecroppers. Atem v'lo shutofim. You may not give truma without informing your partner. Atem v'lo apotropos. You, but not the executor of the assets of the Yisomim. Atem v'lo ator meshein shalom. If a person cannot give truma that doesn't belong to him, Eima atem v'lo shluchachem nami. Maybe I would have learned the drasha atem, not a shaliach. That it's to be mar b'shaliach. Hanich l'Risha ben Korcha, who teaches us from V'shachatu also called Kaldas Israel, that there's shlichus by Kodshim, El Rav Yonis and the Mafik Le'lahai Kral L'Drash Achrina. But if we don't have an index pasuk to tell me about shlichus, then we're back to square one. And Rav Yonason uses the shachatu also the drash achrina. Then minola. Then we're back to the question of how do you learn shlichus by kodshim? Where is this Rav Yochanan? The Tanya Rav Yonason Oimer. Minayin shekol Yisrael yoitzim the Pesachecha. This we'll learn the next time we learn.
Okay, Gemara Chatima Tova to everybody. Have an easy fast. And thank you, everybody.
הגמר שים את טובה.